All right, let's talk about something that's a huge puzzle for a lot of people trying to navigate the US financial system. How do you actually build a financial life? Get a credit report when you don't have the one thing everyone assumes you have, a social security number. And look, for millions of people, this is their day to day reality. It feels like the entire American financial world is built on this one number. So without it, even basic stuff like checking your own credit feels completely out of reach. It really does create this massive wall, blocking people from participating in the economy. Okay, so let's really dig into this. How did we get here? Why has this one single 9-digit number become the ultimate gatekeeper for pretty much everything, from getting a car loan to just renting an apartment? So here's the thing, and it's kind of wild when you think about it. The SSN was never, ever supposed to be our main financial ID. It was created way back in 1936 for a super specific purpose, to track our earnings for retirement benefits. That's it. But over the decades, it just sort of morphed into the master key for our entire financial lives, a job it was never really designed to do. So if that main door is basically locked, is there another way in? Is there a different key? You bet there is. And that's what we're going to talk about now, the specific tool built for this exact situation. It's called the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN for short. Okay, let's get super specific on what this is. The IRS created the ITIN program way back in 1996 for one main reason: to give people who don't have a social security number a way to follow US tax laws. So at its core, its whole purpose is about processing taxes, period. And hey, here's a super simple trick to know if you're looking at an ITIN. It's always a 9-digit number, just like an SSN, but it will always, always start with the number 9. That first digit, that's the dead giveaway. Now, this is maybe the most important thing to get straight. An ITN is not an SSN. It really is only for federal tax stuff. It doesn't give you permission to work, it doesn't make you eligible for Social Security benefits, and it has absolutely zero impact on your immigration status. Understanding that difference is, well, it's everything. All right, so you need one of these keys. The big question is, how do you actually get it? Let's walk through the process right now. And you know what? It's probably a lot more straightforward than you're imagining. The game plan is actually pretty straightforward, just 4 main steps. First, you fill out a form, it's called the W-7. Then you attach that form to your federal tax return. Next, you have to include documents that prove who you are and your foreign status. And finally, you just submit the whole package. But, and this is a big but, you've got to be careful here. The IRS is serious about this. They want original documents or copies that are officially certified by the agency that issued them. This is a huge deal. Just to give you an idea, in 2023, the IRS rejected over 250,000 ITIN applications, a lot of them because of problems with the paperwork. So yeah, getting this package right is absolutely critical. And just a quick heads up on a timeline here, you're gonna have to be patient. The IRS gets hundreds of thousands of these things every single year. So if it's during that crazy busy tax season, January to April, you could be waiting up to 11 weeks to hear back. Okay, so you've got your ITIN. This is where things get really interesting, because its real power starts to show up. It begins unlocking doors that go way, way beyond just filing your taxes. It really becomes a stepping stone to being included in the financial system. And this is where we see the ITIN kind of take on a life of its own, right? It wasn't designed for this, but forward-thinking banks, credit unions, and even some mortgage lenders started accepting them. This lets people open bank accounts, apply for loans, and start building that incredibly important US credit history. And don't think this is just small change we're talking about. The economic impact is massive. According to the IRS's own data, back in 2019, tax returns filed with an ITN contributed a net $5.8 billion to the US economy. That's a huge contribution from a group that's often shut out of the system. All right, this brings us to the main events, the final boss level, if you will. You've used your ITIN, you've started building some credit. So how in the world do you actually get your hands on the one document that proves it all, your credit report? So here is the frustrating hidden trap that so many people fall into. You go to the official government website, annualcreditreport.com, you type in your info, and reject it. Why? It's simple, really. Those online systems are hard-coded to only accept social security numbers. The moment they see that 9 at the beginning of your number, their system just flags it as an error. So if that digital front door is slammed shut, what do? Is there another way in? Absolutely.
You just have to completely bypass that automated system.
The answer, believe it or not, is to go old school, snail mail. You literally write a letter to each of the big 3 credit bureaus, that's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You include copies of your ID, proof of where you live, and your personal info. But here, and this comes straight from Experian, is the single most critical step. You have to clearly, explicitly state that your number is an ITIN. That little note is what tells a real person on the other end not to dismiss it as a typo. It helps them find your file. All right, let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. What does this all really add up to? What we're seeing is how a simple number for filing taxes can transform into this really powerful tool for building a documented life, a financial identity in a new country. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. When you consistently file taxes using an ITN, you're creating an official paper trail. You're documenting your history here, your contributions. And as the National Immigration Law Center points out, that official record can become invaluable down the road as evidence of good moral character if there's ever a path to changing your immigration status. So, what are we really looking at here? Is this just a number for taxes, or is it something more? I think the big takeaway is that, yeah, the ITN starts out as just a simple tool for tax compliance. But its real power, its true value, is in the financial identity it allows you to build, step by step. It's proof that even when a system wasn't necessarily designed with you in mind, there are still ways to get in, to contribute, and to build a future.